First off, let me say that I don't consider this game part of the Jak and Daxter timeline. There are just way too many plot holes in the game to actually make any sense. If you bought this game and expected it to feel anything like the original trilogy for PS2, you better buckle up, as it doesn't play like any of the other installments in the series. This game is so bad, I don't even know where to begin. What's up everyone, Boomer Streams here. This video will contain all of my thoughts on Jak and Daxter: The Lost Frontier, which I recently gathered while playing through this hot piece of garbage in a live stream here on YouTube as my 3,000 subscriber special. I would like to say thank you for making this possible, and let's dig right into this. Let us begin with the story of the game. Jak, Daxter, and Kira, which neither of them look anything like their former selves by the way, abandoned Haven City and or Spargus to search for a new source of energy because the world's ecosystem isn't in balance anymore or something. So they're just out there minding their own business as they're suddenly attacked by sky pirates? And yes, this game for some reason features sky pirates. I really have no idea what high impact games were thinking when they brought that into the game. To be fair though, 2009 was a wild time for video games. We had classics like Bayonetta, Assassin's Creed 2, and Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 releasing in the same year. So they had to stand out with something. And I guess adding sky pirates to the almost perfectly fine Jak and Daxter series makes for an interesting concept. Let's talk a bit about the gameplay. The movement in this game is just awful. I played the PSP version of this game, so I had to control the camera using L1 to pan left and R1 to pan right. But there were times where the automatic camera ruined certain parts of the game for me. More about that later though. The movement just feels clunky and unpolished. Since the shoulder buttons are now used up to pan the camera, there is no roll anymore and therefore no roll jump, which you could do in the previous games. So the fastest way of walking around seems to be hitting square all the time and holding forward to punch around like a mad wet hen. You still have weapons in this game, but instead of shooting with R1, you use the triangle button. You have no idea how awkward this makes Jak's jump, spin, and shoot attack from Jak 2 and 3. They did indeed try to bring back the mechanic, but simply put, it's just not as satisfying to use. You cycle through your weapons by pressing up on the D-pad, and switch between eco powers using left and right, and you use those by pressing down. Oh yeah, I haven't mentioned eco powers at all, haven't I? Throughout the game, you find some actually decent powers that all go back to the original colors from Jak 1. You have green, red, yellow, and blue eco, and the powers to create crystals, shoot an eco bomb, allow Jak to fly almost like he has a jetpack, turn him into a ball, and slow down time, for example. You can also collect dark eco to upgrade Jak's basic abilities like the punch, kick, or even his health. And that's something I did in fact enjoy about this game. Putting emphasis on how you want to play the game is always great. Interestingly, high impact games mainly exists of former Naughty Dog and Insomniac Games employees who previously worked on the Jak and Daxter series, or in regards of the IG employees, at least very close to it. But they don't seem to have any actual clue about Jak. Fighting mutant zombie monkeys, having to save orphans' cabbage from electric eels? I mean, there were definitely some really silly missions in other installments in the series, but not this bizarre. And even then, they were at least fun, something I can say about this title. Oh, and have I talked about Jak Daxter already? I'm not kidding you, he actually exists in this game. So quite early on, after becoming friends with the Europeans, who, spoilers by the way, turn out to be the villains later on, Daxter falls into the sewers of the city, where he then gets a bath in dark eco and turns into Jak Daxter? This is exactly what I was talking about. Who in the world came up with this, and how did it make it into the final game? In the opening cutscene, Jak attempts to transform into Dark Jak while fighting Captain Phoenix. However, his transformation fails due to the instability of eco during the massive storms caused by the eco shortage. So Jak isn't able to go edgy mode for the entire game, while apparently everyone can use it for some reason. The final boss, for instance. Oh boy, don't get me started on that one. It's one of the worst fights I've seen in any video game. It starts off by Skyheat turning into giant dark Skyheat, which is just... why? Oh, and it's totally not ripped off from giant dark Jak from Jak 2, by the way. Whenever you punch or kick him, he tells you that your attacks don't hurt him, and when you're trying to shoot him with your weapons, Daxter says that bullets don't damage him either. So what are you left to do? Use your eco powers, right? Not even those hurt him. I tried. You have to kick, some close-by missiles towards him after he takes a plane and shoots with its machine guns somehow, which to this day I still don't know how he did it. And this is where the camera movement comes in that I just talked about earlier. The lobster, a weapon you find a bit later in the game, does in fact damage Skyheat, as it's not using bullets, but it's instead using some sort of energy grenade. It's only bearing 10 ammunition though, which makes it a pain in the butt, as you will need to walk around on the boss fight's platform to destroy boxes that hold the lobster ammo. The camera though, it always wants to focus on the boss while I'm just trying to figure out where I can find these crates and recharge the lobster. That, combined with the game's awful clunky controls, is just disgusting to play. Some dialogue in this game is very repetitive, especially when flying around in your aircraft and getting shot from 1,000 angles, and Daxter constantly yells into your ear, "We're getting pounded!" Followed by, "I'll repair the plane with our supplies." Pretty annoying if you ask me. Same can be said about the voice acting and cutscenes. They're straight up horrid. The audio in those in-game movies isn't properly synced to the video, and Jak and Kira sound a lot different from the previous games. That's probably because their voice actor changed in this game, but I don't think either are good replacements for the old ones. I will need to give it that though. They did nail the look and style of Jak and Daxter with some of these characters. Take a look at the leader of the Sky Pirates, Captain Phoenix, for instance. What a generic name, by the way. He looks like you could be straight from another Jak game. And this is a positive thing in my opinion. I mean, could you say no to that hot goatee, the edgy earrings, his well-done hair, his smug smile, oh, and did I mention his goatee? Whatsoever. I'm also a big fan of what Daxter calls the pirate chick boss from one of the later levels in the game. Her design is actually pretty good too, and I think those characters really hit the nail on the head in terms of style, but others, oh my lord. They either look like they don't belong into the game at all, or they look like they straight up ran out of ideas for some designs. Tim, for instance, a crazy old man you meet quite early on, is essentially a discount version of Win, who you get to meet in Jak 2 for the first time. You can't tell me they didn't take inspiration to create Tim. It's a straight ripoff. And don't even get me started on Skyheat and his rat-looking servant, who is so irrelevant that I forgot his name. I actually had to go on Google just to find out that it's Ruskin we're talking about. What this game is really lacking is a series of in-game tutorials that just tell you about certain mechanics. And yes, I'm being serious with this. I'm usually someone who doesn't want tutorials cluttered all over the screen or dialogue interrupting the immersive game experience you're having, but I actually didn't realize how some bosses, puzzles, or mechanics worked because the game didn't tell me well enough about it. One mission that just drove me insane was the research rig for Precursor Facility. So you're supposed to destroy these generators that create a shield preventing you from entering the research rig. Quite easy to understand if you ask me. But just after a bit, Daxter tells you to take out some of those repair barges that popped up as you were shooting the generator. Okay, fair enough. Destroy the repair ships so you can destroy the generators that generate a shield which prevents you from entering. Even that is easy to understand. But after shooting down wave after wave after wave of these ships, I had literally no idea what to do. Turns out there was a hangar right under the generators which these ships came out of right after destroying the ones that were previously repairing the shield generator. I wouldn't actually have any problem with this if there just was a mention that you could destroy these hangars too. Like literally not a single word was said about the hangars being destroyable. I even went to check a user created Wikipedia with all bits of dialogue on there, and there was not a single mention of it. They even tell you to do the opposite. All the dialogue I found tells you to destroy the repair ships and the other to destroy the generators? Yeah, that's just not cool, TLF. Not cool. The scrap metal customization system for your aircrafts was yet another one of those things. Last time I played, I had a pretty hard time to beat Skyheat in his escaping ship, which is a scripted sequence of the final boss, by the way, simply because the weapons I equipped were so terrible even after I spent a bunch of my scrap to upgrade my mods and weapons. So it would have been really nice if the game took me by the hand a bit and explained properly how it all works. In the end, I figured out that Armageddon seems to be the best weapon for all of your ships, no matter which one you use. You can obtain weapons and ship mods from enemy aircrafts too by using the very creative Daxter Jak to get onto the desired ship. where you then get to do a bunch of quick time events as Daxter. If done successfully in time, you'll then get the item that the ship carried. There's a small icon next to the plane which will tell you what it has on board. Pretty neat actually, but if you fail the quick time events or don't make it in time, Daxter's getting sent back and you have to wait until another Daxter Jak is ready. To come to a conclusion though, this game doesn't feel anything like the original trilogy, and I think it's just lacking in terms of story. Daxter turning into Dark Daxter and Jak not being able to do so, but everyone else? Explain that stuff to me. Also, the edge of the world? The brink? Hello? This game is literally what a flat earther's dreams are made of. The aircraft dogfighting is pretty fun, just like upgrading his weapons and vehicle mods, but it gets repetitive after just a bit. I personally only like the side missions in which you use your airship. On foot, there's close to no incentive to do any of them, as Jak just controlled so weird that it's not fun doing any bit of extra content as him. If you're a true completionist, go for it, but don't say I didn't warn you. If this was your first Jak game, then I'm very sorry. This game is just terrible and does not hold up to the original trilogy. Once again, I don't consider this game part of the Jak and Daxter timeline with all its crazy plot holes, and neither should you. Should you go back today and play it? Unless you're a hardcore fan, you really shouldn't. Don't put yourself through this, and don't even think about wasting any bit of money on this game like I did. Thanks for watching everyone. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, as creating this kind of content takes a lot of work. And if you want to see any of my upcoming videos, consider subscribing to the channel. I release videos like these almost every Friday, and I also stream over on Twitch every Wednesday, Thursday, and Sunday starting at 7 PM CEST. I'm hoping to see you there or in the next video. So until then, take care and bye bye.